This is the mechanical arm from the Create mod. A powerful block that's excellent at sorting lots of resources and inputting complex recipes. It has one weakness though, it only has a 5-block range. Now you could go into the Create config files and set that range to be a little higher, but that doesn't feel really in the spirit of the Create mod. Today I'm going to solve this problem by making the mechanical arm bigger.
Much bigger!
So how does the mechanical arm actually work? If we slow our rotational speed right down, we can watch the mechanical arm at work. And this allows us to identify which parts are moving and how. The first thing you notice is that items further than 2 blocks away magically pop into the mechanical arm's hand. For the big version, I've decided to add an extension to the upper arm. Time for a terrible paint drawing. The base of the mechanical arm doesn't move, which makes it an excellent candidate for putting all of our redstone logic in. Then you have the cog that spins and is purely aesthetic for our purposes. Everything above the cog rotates around the vertical axis. Next the lower arm, which rotates around the horizontal axis. Next the upper arm, at the end of which is a grabber, which I'm calling the hand, which also rotates backwards and forwards 90 degrees around the horizontal axis. The hand also has a pair of pincers that is used to grab things. The arm has 3 settings: round robin, forced round robin, and prefer first, each dictating how the arm handles the outputting of items. If we look at this test with 3 coloured inputs, we can see the arm generally uses a prefer first method for inputting, but that's largely dictated by the availability of outputs. To simplify things for this project, I'm going to use one single output and have 3 inputs for variety. The arm will prefer first on the inputs and carry everything to the same output. Time to get to building. Does this not look like this? No, not really. It doesn't look that similar, but I think you could probably see the premise. Obviously, our mechanical arm has to go 90 degrees. We can't place a contraption on the diagonal. I've also placed in all of the movement anchors. The next step is to make these things actually move. At this point, I have to be very careful of what I'm gluing to what. And when it goes wrong... Oh boy. Oh, it's in the floor. But eventually, everything starts to work. So our arm can rotate. It can extend and retract. It can tip forward. The hand can rotate. And we can pincer, open and closed. And yes, I'm aware that it does currently look a little bit like a duck. Ducks aside, this is the circuitry for the machine. Let me walk you through it. The first thing to talk about is these 4 AND gates. They correspond to the directions in the world. We have north, east, south and west. Each of the AND gates represents one of the 3 inputs and the 1 output, and the direction that the arm is currently facing. As the top of the arm spins, these different redstone contacts will come on and off. This lets us know which way the machine is facing and to stop it at the appropriate input or output. When a fault is detected at one of the 3 inputs, it sends out a signal that identifies its location and also requests the arm begin the sequence. We have 2 AND gates that determine whether the machine is going to begin its sequence. The first AND gate takes the request from the inputs and a check to see whether the machine is already moving. If the machine's not moving and there is something on one of the inputs, the clutch will disengage and the machine will start to rotate. As the machine moves, it will match up with one of the inputs that has something on it, and that triggers the second AND gate. At this point we engage the clutch, locking the mechanical arm in the right direction. We tell the system that the sequence is underway, thus shutting this AND gate, and then we begin the arm sequence. The arm sequence is here, it's fairly straightforward, it just fires each of the mechanical parts that I illustrated earlier in sequence. At the end of the arm sequence, it sends out a signal which comes to this piece of logic here. Because the mechanical arm is always taking from one input and then outputting, and then grabbing an input and then outputting again, I've set up a simple back and forth system, so the first time the signal comes through, we can assume that the hand has picked up a volt. We're going to disengage the clutch, so that the machine starts rotating again, and tell it to rotate to the output. We then wait for the matching AND gate to trigger this section. We engage the clutch again to stop the mechanical arm. We start the arm sequence again, and we tell the triple AND gate that we've now dropped something off at the output. The arm will do its sequence and drop the grate off at the output, and when it finishes its sequence, this second time we assume that the hand is empty, and we reset the system and await another input. If two different directions have inputs, i.e. there are 2 volts waiting to be collected, the system will just restart immediately because this begin sequence line will still be active. Unsurprisingly, things did not work first time.
No.
Oh boy. Why are you spinning? After a whole bunch of failures, I managed to get the machine working, and I sped up all the timings for the arm sequence. All the circuitry is behind me, ready to go inside the body, which means we can start decorating. Decorating is actually going to be a fairly simple job for me this time because we have the reference of the actual mechanical arm, and I'm pretty much going to go 1 pixel per block using this color palette, which is a little bit more yellow than the arm, and this color palette for the metallic bits. So there you have it. A giant working mechanical arm. I love the Create mod. I love doing goofy stuff like this. Okay, it's not the most practical, but you could use it in a survival world for sorting your warehouses, sorting your trains. There's a lot more you could do with this mechanical arm. You could change the inputs and outputs. You could set up a round robin system. I'd love to try figuring out a way of addressing parcels like you do with the Create 6 frog ports. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, especially comment. I'd love to hear your ideas for more inventions that we can make on the channel. And I will see you next time.